Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and to the second installment of the new N-scale layout build. If you're watching last time, you will have seen me frame up the first two base sections and start on the Helix. So now let's jump right back in where I left off and get that Helix finished. Well, I haven't done anything on this for the last few days. Long-time viewers may recall an incident at the start of the Q&R and Scenic Valley build where I had a problem with clearance. So I have ordered a double stack. That is the minimum clearance, and we have about ½ an inch to spare. So we're all good on this build. I didn't want to take the chance of continuing and then having to undo it if it needed adjustment later. I already have another half lap of Helix cut from the previous sheet, so let me get that installed with some blocks, work out exactly what the height is, and I'll be right back. Don't go away. Well, I did a bit of experimentation and found that I ended up with a 3 1/8 rise per lap. So an 1/8 inch more than I was expecting, but that doesn't do any harm. It just means that all these blocks are now cut at 2 5/8 instead of 2 1/2. This one here is, of course, a custom block, has to be tapered. Otherwise I have to make a special piece of subroadbed with a wing that comes out here to be supported. But this is easier, especially since I already have the subroadbed cut. Well, here is the rest of the Helix marked out. I think I've got one more than I need, but it's a lot better to mark it out now than it is to have to come back and set up again later. Using the same trammel that I did for the first lap. And the nice thing about an N-scale Helix is that being smaller in diameter, you can get a higher proportion of a lap across a 4-foot piece of plywood. So it makes sense to lay them out in this way, instead of the way I did it on the Q&R and Scenic Valley build. I suppose I could have done that this way as well. Anyway, let me get it all cut out now and get back to work. I'll check in with you again later. Well, that is almost one full lap of subroadbed installed. Actually, I installed it a few hours ago, but I wanted to let the glue have plenty of time to go hard. So I went inside and worked on another project. Anyway, I think that glue has had plenty of time, so I can remove all the weights and the clamps and lay some track. So let me do that quickly and I will be right back. Well, that is 6 lengths of foam roadbed and 8 yards of flex track installed. The end of track is currently just around here where you can see the weights end. That's all I'm going to do today. I will check in with you again tomorrow, so don't go away. Well, this morning I have wired up the second lap of the Helix. And I've had a locomotive running up and down on both tracks just to make sure that I don't have any cross feeders. I always do that after every wiring session because it's too easy to make a mistake otherwise. And the only time that I didn't, it was a single pair of wires, and it came back to bite me because I ended up sending a layout out to a customer with a pair of wires swapped over. Fortunately, he found it without too much trouble, but it was still embarrassing. Anyway, on this Helix, I have decided to adopt a different approach. Instead of drilling through the sub-road bed and putting the wires underneath, I'm keeping them on the surface and then going down the sides. I have had problems with wires coming unglued from underneath and fouling trains. So this is going to be my new method of wiring helixes from now on. The next step is to get out some more wood blocks and some more pieces of sub-road bed and work on the next lap. So don't go away, I'll check in with you later. Well, that is the next lap of sub-road bed. It's not permanently attached yet. All the wood blocks that support it are glued at the bottom ends. Once that glue has had time to set up, I will come back out again and attach the road bed. So until then, don't go away, I'll check in with you later. Well, that is the sub-road bed and the foam rubber road bed installed for about another 3/4 of a lap. Once I get the track past the clamps, I can then finish the Helix and get into the middle level. As I said earlier, it's not a tall Helix, it's just over 3 laps. Here you can see my method of making sure that the rail ends don't spring out before I get the next piece of track joined on. Per the customer's request, I am using Pico Flex Track, and that has a tendency to spring out if you don't take steps to avoid it. Well, that is 8 more pieces of track laid. Not 8 full yards. I put a 2-foot offcut on the inner circle, and that allowed me to get the ends more or less even. So the Helix only needs 3/4 of a lap now. It will end in this corner, and I believe it becomes visible trackage about here, probably between these 2 bricks. And then the next 6 or 7 feet will be the Winslow scene. Well, this time I just installed 2 yards on each track. I could have got 1 more yard length in on the outer track. The inside was too short, I'd have had to cut it. I didn't want to go too far up here anyway, because next time I come out here, I'm going to be framing over this area, and that would increase the risk of damaging track that's already been laid, which I don't want to do. Anyway, next step is the Winslow shadow box diorama. Don't go away, I will check in with you again next time. Well, that's all for this installment. I hope you enjoyed the show and found something useful. And I hope to see you again next week, where I will once again continue exactly where I left off today. So in the meantime, thanks for watching, and bye for now.